Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it is time once again for Tales from 2 a.m. What's that mean? It means that it's Sunday, and it's for the most unusual show on the Behind the Steel Curtain Family Podcast. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. You could call me Bad. I'm just so glad you're here hanging out with me once again. And if I look on the calendar, I don't have to look on the calendar to know what today is. It's Mother's Day, a very important day for all of us as we celebrate the mothers, not only to us, but the mothers to our children as well, our friends and family. Mothers, you are the lifeblood of Steeler Nation, and we love you. And we want to talk about that today. So thanks so much for coming in and joining me. As you know, it's Tales from 2 a.m. Usually this show is done on a Sunday morning in the a.m. when it's done live. Because it's Mother's Day, I'm going a little bit later. Because you know what? I wanted to spend some time with my wife, the mother of my children, and pampering her. And I'm getting ready to go see my own mother. And that's something I want to talk about. But I want you to go ahead and look at the title. It's an odd title here. And the title today is You Can't Have Renegades Without Mama. And that's a play on the great song, Renegade. When that song goes on in Heinz Field, the place goes nuts. The players talk about it. Bud Dupree just talked about it in his love letter to Pittsburgh when he was leaving just a few months ago. When you hear, "Oh, Mama," you know that something's going to be good. And when you think of the word mama or mom, you know it's going to be good. So I want to say happy Mother's Day to everybody out there in black and gold. And I want to talk about how important that is. And there's a reason why. And I will do that as well. So I see everybody getting ready to come in here. If you're a mom, I need you to let me know in the live chat. If you're checking us out on Facebook or if you're checking us out on YouTube and you are a mother, I want you to let me know. That is important because I want to call you out. All moms are going on the screen today. So, and I will also say this. I'm going to say this to you. If you are a dad that is a full-time dad and there's not a mom involved, happy Mother's Day to you too. Just like on Father's Day, I'm going to say the same thing. I'll say that to you now too as well. But if you are a mom, I want to know, and I hope I don't miss you on the screen. So make sure maybe next to your name, just say, type in, "I'm a mom." I want to celebrate you today. Because here is the thing about that. When I'm talking about Mother's Day, and I'm talking about the Steelers, you don't always think of those things together. You really don't. And the reason I've talked about my Steeler fandom so many times. And when I talk about my Steeler fandom, you have heard me time and time again talking about my dad and my relationship with my dad. And I'm going to say this. I really, that's true. I have so many Steeler memories with my dad. But you know how many Steeler memories and how much my mom has driven my fandom? And you know me, I'm a big sap and I'm going to probably struggle through this one. But my mom is responsible for so much of my fandom as well. So Patricia Davis, I love you so much and happy Mother's Day. So let's go ahead and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. Tyler Bowe says happy Mother's Day to the Davis home. I appreciate that. Kathy Forrid. Kathy is kind of she's kind of a mom to our BTSC family because she's in here a lot. And we love Kathy here. She's a mom, 2 great daughters. Happy Mother's Day, Kathy. And I know Kathy is, I didn't get a chance to mention this last week. I know Kathy, how excited she is to see Najee Harris in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. I know that's something she was hoping for, if I'm not mistaken. Or was that Creed? I'm not sure. Maybe it was Najee. I'm pretty sure it was Najee. Tyler wants to go ahead and do a shout out to his wife, Jessica, and mom, Sandy Sargent, Bo. So congratulations, Tyler. Thank you so much for being a part of Tales from 2 a.m. And make sure you pamper both mom and Mrs. today on Mother's Day. Felicia says, thanks, Bad. I appreciate you. Love carrying my Mother's Day with you all. Love sharing my Mother's Day with you all. Kathy, Daredevil, Big Bro Sco, and the BTSC family. Happy Mother's Day to you, Felicia. Another one of our BTSC moms, too. Jeannie is a mom of 4 sons. Happy Mother's Day, Jeannie. 4 sons. And I guarantee you, if you're on the show right now, you are like my mom. You had a lot to do with your son's Steelers fandom, if they are Steelers fans as well. And I'm sure that they are. And she also says, shout out to my Steeler moms out there as well. Sean Manahan. I started watching Steelers in the 90s because my mom was a Steelers fan who watched the Super Steeler teams of the 70s. His mom. Absolutely. Someone else we saw in the so much. Excuse me. I just read something that just shook me up a little bit. But and I'm going to go ahead and bring that up too. Shield 91, one of our great fans here. Hi, Bad. Mom is sick, so I wasn't able to visit. Very sorry to hear that. Hope mom gets well soon, Shield. Shield, just a great contributor to our show and all of our podcasts. We really appreciate you. So blessings. I hope your mom feels better. So I wanted to bring up another mom that I have not met, but her son is in the live chat, and her son is a great friend of mine, and her other son is an even greater friend of mine. So I want to do a shout out to Mrs. Sco of the Schofield family. Now, if you have not had a chance to read Dave Schofield's article on his thank you to moms, all the Steeler moms out there, I read it right before I came on, and I had to take a second to stop welling up and crying because it's such a beautiful article about Dave's experience getting his mom to show up after not thinking she was going to be able to walk again, and her walking in to Dave's house on Super Bowl Sunday when the Steelers played the Packers 10 years ago. And that's such a beautiful story. We have that was bigger than the Steelers playing that day and the Steelers losing that day. That was bigger for the Schofield family. So I think that's absolutely wonderful. If you have not read your article and you haven't had a good cry, because remember, Jimmy Valvano says you should be moved to tears every single day of your life with something special. And that is something special to go ahead and look at. So go ahead and take a look at that article. It is absolutely beautiful. And that's kind of what inspired me. I was going to talk about my mom on the show too, but that inspired me even more. So I'm so glad to see that. There are so many little stories. If you want to throw out a Steelers story about your fandom, like Sean Manahan did about his mom, I'd love to hear it. And I got to say this. I am so blessed to have a Steeler mom. And when I say a Steeler mom, like I said, my dad took me to my first game. He took my mom to Super Bowl 14 over me, as you've heard that story ad nauseum. I know that. But my mom was the one that would further my Steeler fandom by buying me all the black and gold stuff. And she stood in line, not just with my sister and my sister Lisa. I want to mention her because she is the one that provided me with my only nephew and a godson who is my Steeler buddy Noah. And she is a great Steeler mom as well. And my sister Lisa and my mom, they would they would stand in line to get me Jerome Bettis' autograph when he came to Johnstown. They stood in line to get Ben Roethlisberger, and Ben Roethlisberger was hardly known. He was a rookie. He was known, but he was only about 6 games in, and they stood in line at a Circuit City to get me an autograph. And that's what my mom would do. And my mom and my sister, they would do that kind of stuff for me because they would see my Steeler fandom. And if it was Steelers, I had to have it. And that's what they wanted to do. So, that's really special. So I just want to do it. There's going to be more shout outs to my mom, and your moms. I want to hear about it. Dallas Quinley says, Steeler moms, the terrible towels wave for you today. Dusk Thunder says this, my mom's actually a Patriots fan. She's definitely bandwagon, LOL. Hey, that's okay. It's okay that she's a Patriots fan. Celebrate her just the same. I love it. I love all these comments out here. And of course, you know how I am. I'm kind of behind. But Dallas says, my dad was for the Cowboys. My aunt was for the Steelers. I sided with my aunt. I think my mom secretly sided with us too. Dallas, I want to ask you this question. Does your name have anything to do with your dad's love for the Cowboys? I think that's interesting. I actually know a boy. He's not a boy. He's a man now. But when he was born, my friends back in Elkins, West Virginia, when their son was born, they were such Dallas Cowboy fans. They named their son Dallas Landry, which I always thought was awesome. And I'm not even a Cowboys fan. So anyways, yeah, I'd love to know that. Dan Momberger, happy Mother's Day, Steeler Nation. Daredevil, both of my parents are Steelers fans. They're most of the reason I got this Steeler tattoo. It binds our family. You know, that's pretty awesome. I love it. I want to hear what Felicia says here. My dad was a diehard Saints fan. My brother, a diehard Raiders fan. I'm a Steelers fan. God bless Mom. She stayed neutral to keep the peace. I love it. Eric Askew. My mom bought me my first terrible towel and would always wear her Steelers scrub shirt whenever they played while she was working in the hospital. Steelers mom for life. Yeah, you know what? Like I said, this is not taking away from dads because I'm going to be talking about dads on Father's Day as well. And my dad, like I said, is so important to my Steeler fandom. But sometimes you don't think about moms when you think about your Steeler fandom. But they are there buying you your first terrible towel. That's awesome. You know, because moms are the ones that are responsible more for our wardrobe. And they always make sure you have that black and gold. And I know my wife does the same thing. She makes sure that when we have a family picture, and she obsesses over what we're going to wear in the family picture. And we have to have, the colors have to all coordinate in some way. And it's really awesome. But she always makes sure, and you always see it in the background, you can see it right there. You could always make sure that there is a Steeler picture with all of us wearing Steeler stuff too. And we're always wearing a jersey, and she's the one who coordinates all of that. She knows that she put up with the fact that I wanted them to be draped in terrible towels. My daughter, whose birthday is coming up, she's going to be 12 on Friday. And we were looking at the pictures the other day, and my wife made sure that she had a Steeler bow for her hair as soon as she was born. And I put the bow on wrong. So the bow's on the top of her head, it's around her chin, and we have pictures of her like that because I'm an idiot. I have no clue how a bow is supposed to go on a girl's head. I just figured it would go on that way. But my wife made sure that she had that. My wife let me name the dogs Heinz Ward Davis, and Palomalu Davis, our first dogs, our first dachshunds. So those dogs are in doggy heaven now, but she made sure that she went along with that, and everybody thought she was the crazy mom of the neighborhood because she'd yell, Heinz Ward, get back here, and Heinz would be running down the street, chasing cars, chasing dogs. Oh gosh. Funny story. So, anyways, Dallas says this again. My grandma accidentally ordered me a Steeler coat from Sears catalog. I was so excited when it came, but then she sent it back and got the right one. Oh no. So Dallas's dad, I missed this. He was named after his dad, who was also a Cowboys fan, but it had nothing to do with the Cowboys. Okay, that's interesting. That's cool. This is no joke here. Well, let me put this one out here. Dallas says this: I want to name my son Skylar Cordell, but it ended up being Skylar Brandon. I was overruled. So I want to talk about that. Now, I told you about my sister having Noah, and it's funny. We had found out that we were expecting right after. We were right after that, right after she had Noah, but I did whatever I could to get her to name her son Arthur. I wanted her to name her son Arthur for Art Rooney. And there's even a picture of her, the baby, and a picture of Art Rooney on the pillow next to them. So it looks like they're hanging out in the hospital. A big headshot of Art Rooney, but she would not do it. She would not name him Art. And I was so bummed. But that was the big joke that it wasn't a joke to me, but my wife said, absolutely not. We're not naming him Art. And I was like, come on. But I tried. Willie Parker was on the team. I said, we can name him Parker. We could name him, I think I even asked for Paul for Palomalu or Debo or something like that. But I couldn't get that out there. But I'm going to go back to my mom real quick. So here's something very interesting. I am not named after a Pittsburgh Steeler, but I am named after a football player. And you may have heard me mention this the other night on the Scobro show, but I am named after a football player, and it had to do with a specific movie. So I'm not going to make you guess what it is. It's probably not hard because my name's in the title, but I am named after Brian's song. And I was all set to be Sean. So would have I been Sean Anthony Davis? Probably, because Anthony is a family name. And so instead of being bad, I would be sad, and that would not be a cool nickname. You would not hear me calling myself that. So bad's cool. Sad is just, that's exactly what it is. So yeah, I was named after Brian's song. My mom was about 8 months pregnant. And actually, gosh, no. She's like 8.5 months, because that movie came out around Thanksgiving in November of 1971. It was a made-for-TV movie. And I was all set to be Sean, and that movie came on and immediately went to Brian like that. And I love my first name. And named after Brian Piccolo, played by the immortal, the great James Caan. Jimmy Caan. I mean, so I'm named after a character played by James Caan. Fantastic. And wow, I tell you what, that's probably something you didn't know a lot about me. And I'm still never going to be a Chicago Bears fan. But anytime there was a Super Bowl, and I was in high school and college, there was a Super Bowl party. And you know what happened? I would have 10 or 12 guys over at the house, and we'd have the Super Bowl pool. My dad would be down there hanging out with everybody. My mom, who's full-blooded Italian, and she would make sure we had 3 to 4 pounds of spaghetti and pasta and all the fixings, and Mom has a terrible back. She has had back problems for close to 40 years now. But she would be up there cooking and making sure that we had all that. So Mom is a great part of my Steeler fandom, and that's something that I definitely want to celebrate. So I'm going to, if you don't have any other Mother's Day stories from your mom, we can move on to other Steeler things. But once again, I am not a Steeler fan without both of my parents. But I'm definitely not a Steeler fan without my mom either. So once again, Mom, thank you so much for supporting this crazy habit of mine, this crazy obsession of mine, and you help fuel it by allowing me to be a Steelers fan and purchasing and providing me with things to continue for me to always be a huge Steelers fan. So one last thing to say about that. I will never forget the AFC Championship game. And my mom could not come down and watch the game with us because she was hurting. She was hurting really bad because of her back, and she was in bed. But she watched that entire AFC Championship game in her room. And I came up to talk to her after and said, yeah, we lost to the Chargers. I don't know how we lost to the Chargers. And she said, wow, I tell you what, that Junior Seau was all over the place. He had like 15 tackles. I'm like, yeah, you were definitely watching. And I remember her saying that, and it was just something that struck me as like, yep, she was watching, and she was watching so she could talk to us about it. And so she could be a part of it too. So once again, I love you, Mom. Happy Mother's Day. Thanks for helping to making me this crazy Steeler fan that I am. McEldo says, I wanted Sladen, son of the Valley, Ohio Valley, but my wife Dee has been calling him Archer. I like the art name variety. That's great. Dallas Quinley, hats off to my wife, a Colts fan who bought our daughter a Troy Polamalu shirt, number 43. I love it. Dan, happy early birthday to the daughter of Bad. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I make music. Steelers offensive line is terrible, yet they took a running back and a tight end. I don't get it. I don't think this offensive line will be all that good this season. We'll talk about that stuff, and we'll talk about that stuff after the break. You want to throw in some more mom stuff? We really can. If you are on Facebook or if you're on YouTube, just stick around. I'm going to take a quick stretch, and we'll be back. If you're downloading this on the platform that you download your favorite podcast, please make this one of them. And if it's something like iTunes, go ahead and give us a rating. If we earned a 1-star rating, give us a 1-star rating. If we got a 5-star, I'd love to see it. Go ahead and put that on there as well. But go ahead and download number 2, and we will be back right after this on Tales from 2 a.m. Happy Mother's Day. Welcome back to Tales from 2 a.m. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis from BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. I am your podcast producer. I am here on Mother's Day. I hope everybody has had a fantastic Mother's Day. It is a beautiful day to celebrate mom. If you are a mom out there and you have not let us know that you're a mom, please go ahead and let us know on the live chat. I want to go ahead and I want to celebrate you as well. So I want to bring back I Make Music's quote, as we are going to talk Steelers, and I'm sure you're here to talk about that, and I appreciate that. So Steelers offensive line is terrible, yet they took a running back and a tight end. I don't get it. I don't think this offensive line will be all that good this season. Now, I could sit here, I Make Music, and try to convince you of why it's going to get better. And, I'm going to. I definitely will. I'm going to bring up Dallas first, and Mac will do then. I think the O-line improved somewhat. However, we now have the best running back in the NFL, and we got a tight end that can rock it. 2021 looks better. Let's see what McEldo says. Watch Najee's highlights. You will understand. And every pick they took addressed the run game, tight end, center, tackle, running back. Now, no one's calling you out. I Make Music. They're just, what they're trying to do is explain to you it's a process. When you look at the running game on any team, there are so many moving parts. And that's funny. It's a running game, moving parts. Yeah. But think about what Dallas said and Dusk Thunder and McEldo said. So here's what you got to look at here. If you go ahead and address the offensive line in the first round, who are you going to have run behind it? Because James Conner is in Arizona, and a lot of people didn't want James Conner back. I actually wanted James Conner back because I like what he does. But James Conner is on the West Coast now. Benny Snell Jr., this is going to be his third year. He is a serviceable backup. He can come in a pinch and get 100 yards rushing for this team. He can do that. Has he done anything to give you confidence that if the line is improved, that the Steelers will be much better? If you look at Anthony McFarland Jr., that's the thing. We've seen a very small sample size. But one thing somebody brought up the other day, I believe it was in an article or on a podcast, but somebody at BTSC, and I'm sorry that I'm not mentioning you by name because as I get closer to 50, I'm losing brain cells here. I can still remember the number one song on this day in 1982, but I still have problems when I'm talking about some other things. It was Chariots of Fire, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. So what I'm saying here, Anthony McFarland Jr., although it's not a big sample size, he's going to be able to do some things in Matt Canada's offense. But I don't think that they look at him as a 3-down back. Najee Harris is thought of as a 3-down back, a full-time back. He catches the ball out of the backfield. So the one thing that was brought up, and I just dismissed, but the one thing that was brought up is, remember late in the season when Anthony McFarland was thrown a ball and he didn't catch it, and it would have been a big first down, and he actually could have been a touchdown because he would have had, with his speed, would have had open field. Najee catches that ball. Not saying that he's going to have some ups and downs as a rookie. We're not going to love him every single week, and sometimes we're going to question this pick. But when you look at it, you need that great running back. And if you have a better offensive line, but you have nobody to run behind it, you're going to have problems. Now, if you have a good running back and a bad offensive line, that running back might struggle a little bit. If you have a great running back, he's going to make that offensive line better. And I think Najee Harris is going to make this offensive line better. I think this offensive line is going to be better because it is more of a run-oriented offensive line. How different is this offensive line? Well, Alejandro Villanueva is now in Baltimore. And one of the things that he talked about this week, when he was kind of dissing the Steelers a little bit. I mean, I have no problem with Big Al, but he mentioned something. He's like, hey, I want to be an offense that runs all the time. Well, they didn't run well. I thought he was a better pass blocker for the Steelers than he was a run blocker. But they didn't run well with Big Al at offensive tackle. Zach Banner played in 3 quarters last year. One of the rubs on Zach Banner is that he's not a great pass protector, but he will beg to differ, and he will tell you about what he's done in college and how well he protected Sam Darnold. Now, I really think, and we've seen a large sample of his run blocking, and we've seen a large sample of the run blocking of Chuks Okorafor too, because they were your tackle eligibles. They had that job. And then Chuks played right tackle all of last year. These guys are better run blockers. Kevin Dotson, he was the guy that didn't start last year unless he was called upon to start in an emergency. But Matt Filer was. Everybody was up in arms when Kevin Dotson did not start in the wild card game against the Cleveland Browns, and Filer came back from injury and started. Here's the thing about that. And the big thing about that is you look at the fact that this guy is a run blocking extraordinaire. Even though Pro Football Focus said gave him a better pass rushing grade than a run blocking grade, he's a great run blocker. David DeCastro was a mess last season because he was injured most of last season. But David DeCastro is still a Pro Bowl guard. And he has not, I expect him to rebound fully. So with those guys that I mentioned, that's 4 players I mentioned, that they are very good run blockers. And when you had trouble, you didn't. Marquise Pouncey lost a step last season. He is retired. So you have to replace that center. BJ Finney's back. And BJ Finney is considered a better run blocking center than he is as a pass blocking center. But he is not expected to. The hope is that he's in there, a placeholder for number 3, Kendrick Green, to get ready. Kendrick Green. Now, one guy that I respect when we talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, I respect a lot of these guys on BTSC that watch film. Jeffrey Benedict's one of them. Dave Schofield's one of them. I'm a big fan of my broadcast partner on the Steelers pregame show, and that's Coach KT, Cliff Harris is a punk, Smith, Kevin Smith. And he was watching film, and his exact words were, the more that I watch this guy, the more I get excited about him. And Jeffrey Benedict mentioned some things about how exciting this Kendrick Green could be as well. So they're building something there. They took Dan Moore in the 4th round. The reason that I'm bringing up all these guys and everything they did, I'm liking the Friar Muth pick so much more after the Kendrick Green pick. I love what he can do. I loved him from day one. But the problem is I was so hell-bent on Creed Humphrey and getting a center. So what I'm saying here is if you can go ahead and have that great running back and another weapon in a tight end that will help your running game, Friar is going to help the running game as well. You have those guys. You have a center that you addressed. You drafted an offensive tackle. That's great. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? What is more important, the offensive lineman or the running back? The other thing that I want to mention is you've got 5 offensive linemen. You have 1 running back, basically. 1 running back, feature back that's going to start. But you have 5 on the field at the same time. Those guys can work together to be a strong line, but you've got to have that running back. Everybody says, well, you can't go ahead and have a star running back. You can't pick one in the first round because people don't pick them in the first round. Well, they still pick them in the first round. You've got to be great to be picked in the first round, or at least thought of as great. Yes, you can get those running backs in the second round. This season, 2 went in the first round, and that's rare because they were needed. But I'm telling you, I'm loving this draft more and more because I think the running game will be improved by returning some of those guys, the health of DeCastro and the health of Banner. I think having Banner on the right side, there's no denying he is a good run blocker. You don't want to lose anything you don't want to lose pass protection either. And if you don't think that Ben Roethlisberger is going to employ this kid, I think you're missing what Ben Roethlisberger is about. Everyone talks about Ben Roethlisberger being selfish and wanting to pass. That was the necessity. It wasn't working last year. I've seen Ben Roethlisberger use the heck out of a running back in the past, but he needs to be able to trust that running back. When you see Najee Harris go off Guy had 30 touchdowns in college. When you see him go off, I think you're going to feel a whole lot better. This is not something you could count on every single year, but if we go back to that 2008 season, that was probably one of the more suspect offensive lines in Pittsburgh Steelers history, and they won a title. They won a Super Bowl title, and they won it with a Willie Parker that had broken his leg the year before, and with their number one running back, Rashard Mendenhall, had his jaw broken and out for the season in game number 4 against the Baltimore Ravens. So you got some Pittsburgh Steelers out there that could run the ball. You've got them that could block. I think this is going to be a better line than it was back in 2008. It's all about the run blocking scheme. It is all about the scheme, the offensive scheme. The two biggest suspects last year are not with the Steelers. It's Randy Fichtner and Sean Surratt. Those guys are not there. You don't think Adrian Clem is going to be his own man? Adrian Clem is definitely going to be his own man. And he is going to go there, and he is going to prove that he was the right pick. And they're going to come up with a scheme to fix this running game. When Art Rooney says, we got to fix this running game, you kind of knew that this is what they were going to do. When Kevin Colbert comes out a couple days before the draft and says, we're deep at center. This is a very deep center draft. Dave Schofield said, hey, man, what we should have thought about this all along. We should have caught the clue. It was given to us right there. We should have known that they weren't looking at a center in the first round because they thought fixing the running game would be easier if they had that feature back and they could build those guys and get those guys in the third round. Kendrick Green was high on their board. If Landon Dickerson and Kendrick Green were there at number 2, I'm not sure who would have went first. Landon Dickerson, if he did not go to Philadelphia, would have he been a Steeler? No, it was said. He was lower on their list. Josh Myers from Ohio State was not in their top 4. Remember, they build that top 24. And he was not in their plans in the top 4 rounds. And I thought Josh Myers should be the guy that they go after. And I'm like, who is this guy? Who is Kendrick Green? I listened about him after the fact. I missed it. Matty Peverell knew who he was. Matty Peverell knew who this guy was. And speaking of Matty Peverell, it's his birthday today. 30 years old, just a young pup from down under. Happy birthday to my good friend, Matt Peverell. Make sure that the next time you catch him on Touchdown Under, you give him a belated happy birthday. He got some Steelers stuff for his birthday too. So fantastic. But happy birthday to the bloke from down under. But Matty Peverell said it about, he profiled him a day before the draft on his show, The War Room. That's really cool. He knew who this guy was. The Steelers knew who he was. They were excited to have him on the list. They had more value in getting a tight end than pulling in Creed Humphrey because they figured that they can get Kendrick Green there. Now, a lot of people said, well, would have you felt better if they would have got Kendrick Green in the second round and Freiermuth in the third round? You would have never gotten Freiermuth there. The only reason anybody did not want Freiermuth is because they were hell-bent on a center. Then when number 3 comes around and people were talking about, wow, you got a mean, nasty center. This guy could be a Pouncey. It might take him longer to get in there, but he could be the Steelers center for the next 10 years. And that's pretty exciting. So everybody loved Quinn Miners because he had the long hair and the gut sticking out and he looked like a Steeler. But this is the guy that they had all along on that list. And that's why they went with him. So I feel comfortable about the running game. That's why I feel comfortable about the draft. Don't forget about Eric Ebron, too. I know Eric Ebron dropped a lot of passes. He dropped 7 passes in 2020. But guess what? He looked pretty good early, though. He had those drop passes late in the year. And that's when he had some problems. But then when those guys got called out, Deontay Johnson included, they played better and they got it together. So I'm really excited about the Steelers offense. And the Steelers offense has the benefit of being under the microscope. But everybody's discounting these guys. Everybody's discounting the Steelers. And what they're saying right now is that the Steelers are maybe the 8th best team in the AFC. That's not good enough to make the playoffs. If I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers, or if I'm me, if you tell me that I'm the 11th best podcaster on BTSC out of 11 of us, I'm going to be like, all right, I'm going to show you I'm number 10. Then the week after that, I'm going to show you I'm number 9. And that's what I'm going to do. You don't think the heart that's beating in the chest of every guy wearing black and gold is not looking at the fact that they're maybe ranked 8th in the AFC going in and going, yeah, boys, wait. Yeah, we'll show you number 8. Because nobody expected them to reel off 11 straight before the wheels fell off last year. No one expected that. And when they have that chip on their shoulder, when they are a team that you're not believing in, they're going to make you believe. So with that, I'm really excited about the firepower that this offense is going to have. I'm really excited about a couple guys on defense, too, that you're adding to that room. The Quincy Roche pick, yeah, that's another guy. People said, would have you felt better if they picked him at number 5 and Loudermilk at number 6? No. They knew more than they knew. They had the order. They knew they can get Roche in the 6th round. And here's the thing that nobody realizes. He transferred. And look what he did at Temple. Just look at his stats at Temple. He was a monster at Temple. But he's not getting the exposure that you would get at Temple. You go to Miami, you're getting major exposure. And Jalen Phillips was there. Another guy, I can't remember the other guy's name. He was maybe the 3rd edge rusher to come out of Miami. And he's going to be an unsung hero for this team. Who says you can't get a good outside linebacker in the 6th round? I know of a guy. You ever hear of Fort Valley State? Can anybody here, without looking it up on Google, without Googling this, tell me the name of the mascot of Fort Valley State? Better yet, tell me what state Fort Valley State is in. And I'll tell you this. Tell me that you don't consider Greg Lloyd one of the greatest pass rushers in Pittsburgh Steelers history. 6th rounder, Fort Valley State, 1987. And he was not only a 6th rounder, he was the 2nd. Care Bears, says Jason Miles. The Crickets, says Eric Askew. That's really funny. Mac will do, no, it's not in Michigan. It's not in Michigan. It's in Georgia. The Fighting Lloyds. I like that. Yeah. That's the Steelers scouted there. They knew what they were getting. He was the 2nd 6th round pick. They picked Tim Johnson in that draft as well, out of Penn State, who was a very good defensive lineman for that team before he moved on. Contract dispute, went to Washington, won a title there. Zachariah James Gillespie says Greg Lloyd is one of my all-time favorites. Yeah, He's one of my all-time favorites too. And Quincy Roche, is it too early to say that he's going to be great? Yeah, but this guy's going to work to be great. Definitely is going to be. And I really love this pick because what he did at Temple was amazing. I think he had about 24 odd sacks there. And he had about 4.5 at Miami. But when you transfer after just one season, for just one season, you're not in tune with the program. Football is one of those toughest places to get traded, especially mid-season. When you trade in mid-season, it takes a while for these players to get acclimated. I don't care how good they are. It also takes a long time to get acclimated into a program where there's established players. But he got enough exposure at the U. Remember, Q from the U. I love that. That's Dave Schofield's name. Or is it Jeff Hartman's? One of those. It took him a while to get acclimated, but he is going to be a really good player for that defense. And he does not have to be great right away. We expect, and Mike Tomlin said this in his press conference, we expect there to be a huge jump for Alex Highsmith from year 1 to year 2. We expect it. We also expect TJ Watt to be TJ Watt. Q from the U can learn. That's pretty good. If I'm Isaiah Loudermilk, I'm the guy saying, all right, you guys don't think I can do this? I'm going to do everything to prove you wrong. He's another guy. I love Shakur Brown. Wasn't drafted. He was considered a 4th or 5th round pick. Wasn't drafted on Michigan State. I knew all about this guy. And the thing is, he's going to have an opportunity. Mark Gilbert. Everybody loves the Gilberts in the Steel City, and Darrelle Revis is his cousin. Sean Gilbert, his uncle. Mark Gilbert's going to come in. He's going to get an opportunity. He played at Duke. He had some injuries. If this guy's healthy, he could be a major player at cornerback. One of those guys is definitely making the team, if not both. And I'd love to see what these guys can do. So this draft I'm really excited about. Going back to what started this whole thing is the fact that, look, you need that great running back and you need a great offensive line. But you've got 5 guys on an offensive line, and if you don't have a running back, you're not going to have a running game. So I know they go hand in hand, and I know that's important. But look at what you've got here. So I think it's going to be really special, and I love the fact that no one really considers these guys doing much of anything. And that's fine. The Steelers will be like, yeah, we'll show you. So once again, I'm going to get ready to wrap things up here. Thanks for everything in there. Thank you. Thank you so much for all the moms that are here. I know we've had a few of them. I know Felicia was here. Kathy, I'm sorry, we had another one that I said a happy Mother's Day to at the very beginning of the show, and I'm looking to try to find her as well, as my brain's just not. Oh, Jean Fan, mom of 4 sons. And if I missed anybody else, happy Mother's Day to all your moms, and a special happy Mother's Day to all of our BTSC moms. You know what? My mom called me up today. I called her up today, and I said, Mom, happy Mother's Day. I'm going to come out and see you tonight. And she said, great. What about your show? Haven't you had your show on? My mom discovered that she could watch my show on Facebook and didn't really watch the show before. Now she watches it on Facebook, and they tune in all the time, Mom and Dad, and they tell me about it. And fact that she doesn't care about the Steelers like I care about the Steelers, but it's a chance to watch her son. And that means so much to her. And you know what? I think about Cats in the Cradle all the time. The great 1973 3-song #1 song by Harry Chapin. And I think about that when I think about my dad and my mom and how blessed I am to have them, and how blessed I am to have 3 kids of my own and have my wife here. And I'm doing everything I can to have the relationship that I had with my parents and the relationship I had with my mom and my dad, and to give that same kind of upbringing to my kids. And I spend a lot of time with my kids, and every time I spend time with them, I want to spend more. And sometimes that's at the expense of driving a half an hour to see mom and see dad. And that's something I want to change. And I'm trying to change. I'm trying to juggle everything. I'm trying to be here at BTSC to be a part of this family too. But I just want to let mom know, and all you moms out there, how special you are and how much love each and every one of you. I think of our other BTSC moms too. Some I've met, some I haven't. I want to say a shout out to each and every one of them. You have raised fantastic children to be a part, to grow up and be great Steeler fans and be awesome on this podcast network, on this editorial page that is BTSC. Remember, we're just not podcast. Raised great young men and great Steeler fans, and they're a part of my family, which means you're a part of my family. So we look in the live chat, we see Jeff's mom show up in the live chat a lot, and you see Mrs. H in there, and I want to say happy Mother's Day to her. I want to say happy Mother's Day to Mrs. Schofield, who we talked about earlier. Your sons are like brothers to me. So happy birthday, Mom. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I want to say that to you. That article, once again, if you haven't read the article that Dave Schofield put on BTSC, go look at it. You're not going to get away. You're not going to get away without a tear. And sometimes that's a good thing. Happy Mother's Day to the moms down under. Happy Mother's Day to the mom in Canada and the moms in Pittsburgh for Jeffrey and Tony. And I hope I didn't miss anybody. KT's mom. Great Shannon's mom. Thank you for providing us with great Steeler fans and great sons. And you're all a part of their fandom too, because we hear all the stories. When we had the Merry Christmas memories, a lot of them was talking about Steeler gifts, and their moms made sure they had their first jersey or their first their first terrible towel. And we saw that on the live chat. So thank you, Mom. And once again, to my mom, Patricia Davis, you're the best. I love you so much. Can't wait to come see you. Happy Mother's Day. And to Jean, Felicia, Kathy, our BTSC moms, happy Mother's Day. And to you and yours. Go Steelers. We love you. You got to do 3 things for me. Be safe. Be true to yourself. And always, always be behind the steel curtain. Happy Mother's Day.